Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get in the Garage.
We're a music podcast.
For music lovers.
As always, we've got a fun show planned ahead for you, but first and foremost, we got a new table.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Black Table Talk.
Welcome to Black Table Talk, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Luke and I spray painted this bad boy and then proceeded to scratch the hell out of it.
No. It's perfect.
It's perfect. Yes, and also, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe and share the podcast with all your friends and your family and everybody. Luke, can you cue us up and let us know what to expect for this episode?
Yes, we have music news. We have a fun segment. We are going to talk about our favorite side one first tracks, like they did in the movie that I can't remember the name of.
High Fidelity.
High Fidelity. Just blanked on that one. And then we have music reviews by King, Gizzard, and the Lizard Wizard, and the 1975.
Yeah, get it queued up.
High Fidelity. I always mess up on one of them. Had it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went with, I was going to say Saiyan. That's what came to mind.
Just 10 years later.
Kind of.
Kind
Just one has a record collection, one has a boombox.
Oh, yeah. Right. All right. As always, let's start off with some music news. Jeffrey, you said you have a little
order in the court.
You said you have some legal news for the week.
Kanye West is about to be sued by the family of George Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
For defamation and et cetera, because of comments he made on Drink Champs, which is the podcast with Nori and DJ EFN. Kanye was and is untethered and going off on everybody, including George Floyd, saying that George Floyd died of fentanyl and not from being kneeled on for 8 minutes on his neck. So the family is preparing to sue him for $250 million. Wow. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if a case is made, et cetera. Get some help, my brother.
Yeah. For real, Luke and I were talking about that the other day on the morning drive to work, and it's like, because I saw he was on Drink Champs, and I watched, I mean, maybe, I guess if you want to call it morbid curiosity, but I was like, well, all right, what's he going on about, you know? And it was a hard watch, man. I didn't watch the whole thing. It's like 3 hours long, and I think it just got taken down, if I'm not mistaken, or I heard that it was taken down. Ice Cube had made comments. Who was the guy that was on right before Kanye West who was also talking about him? I can't remember that guy's name. Anyway, point being, yeah, there's a lot of controversy around it, and yes, I second Jeff's plea to just like get some help, man. Like, you know, like
They pulled it.
They did pull it.
Yeah, like I don't like artists. You know, he has a lot of work that I really enjoy, and for a long time I would say that he was my favorite artist of our time. It's really been hard for me to say that these past 5 or 6 years. I don't refuse to listen to him, but I pretty much don't ever listen to his music, and I don't like to look up his headlines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's just
we haven't touched Kanye on the show in a long time, unless we're actually talking about a record he put out a while ago. And it's been a choice of ours not to talk about Kanye West on the show, because we kind of just don't want to amplify anything he says, because it's usually been pretty horrendous and hurtful towards a lot of people, of many races and creeds and colors and beliefs and all that good stuff. So, it is sad to see somebody fall. I'd also like to say let's also not Britney Spears somebody again that's struggling, and you know what I mean. It's weird that we're, you know what I mean.
It's a different time now, and people are so much X times amount more aware of these mental health type things.
Yeah.
So I think the world is trying its best to treat it with some softness and this is a guy who, but he is enraged that anyone thinks he has any issues at times. He seems to be, he goes through these episodes of completely a different reality. It's just sad. And this is a guy who has four 4 young kids. I think it's 4.
Yeah.
It might even be 5, but definitely like 4 kids
Also
under the age of
saying
10 years old.
Some
And
scary things about his own children recently.
yeah, and he's gone through some scary things from being a super famous person. But yeah, I just don't. He's hard to follow. He's hard to. Yeah, we like keep him out of our mouths as much as possible because what do you do?
We'll talk about Kanye
Yeah.
West before we do this podcast. A lot of the times we'll be like, "Yo, did you?" And we'll be like, "Yeah," and then yeah. But then we just don't. We usually don't cover it because it's just like it's so much. But to like, it's really come to a head as of late, and it's like the 3 like incidents like that have really come like back to back to back lately. Have really
and I'll say
to a new level of kind of.
right. I'll say too.
Concern.
I saw that he was on Drink Champs, and and Luke and I touched on this when we talked about it as well. And I was like, yeah. So what are you doing? You're gonna have this guy who's like clearly going through it on a podcast for 3 hours, and then you're gonna get him drunk on top of
and
it.
just passing
that's-
around blunts.
That's
and,
what that's exactly that's what I said to Mike.
It
I
seemed
was
like in poor taste and kind of like perverse in a way of being like
exploitative.
Expletive.
that's
Thank
exactly
you. Yeah,
what
because
what I meant by like let's not Britney Spears another person. Like why if you all think he has mental health issues, would you give anybody with struggling through a mental health crisis alcohol or marijuana? Like no. Like,
right,
just
right.
straight up
And
like never.
He was just on a show, I think it's called The Shop, and it's executive produced by LeBron James and Maverick Carter, and he was interviewed, and it's in a barbershop set, and they shoot the shit, and that company refused to air a second of the material that they taped because they're like, yeah, this guy was just going off
on a thing.
for like an hour and a half, and like we're not even gonna put any of it out there because it just amplifies kind of a distorted view of things and
probably who he really is as a you know what I mean. It's like and it does that too. So
so
as shitty as all the things he has
very
said
sad.
are.
it's very
sad to
sad.
me.
That's what it was. That's what it was for me too. Watching it, I was like, oh man, they're gonna, you know what I mean? Because like, let's face it, right? I mean, it's what's the word when like you do like when you're flashy on purpose to get attention? It's that culture. It's like the clout chasing and stuff like that. Like it's that whole thing.
Clicks
to me.
and headlines,
right? To where it's just like this, where that's what that Drink Champs interview was, to me after like watching that little bit of it. But anyway,
especially
what
that
can you
show.
do?
That show at its best, they have people on and they kiss their ass the whole time. So I've seen like some good episodes, but it's still like the 2 hosts just kiss the guy's ass. And from what I heard, that this episode with Kanye West was like them like, yeah, go tell us more about it. It's like, no, please do not tell us more about your views.
There were some moments where you could see like the mood. I was like, oh, the mood's gonna get light again, and then he goes off and he just starts hitting you. He's just like, well, if you think about this, and you're like, whoa, dude, whoa.
Yeah.
And he outed people by name. He called out, I think, Meek Mill, P. Diddy. He kind of like was like, if you like kill me within the next 7 days or like fuck off kind of stuff. And you're like, whoa, man, I don't know. This is it was really tough to watch, man.
I couldn't watch it. I don't use this word like carelessly, but he is at this point in time a maniac. Like he is suffering from absolute mania of grandiosity and like this view of the world and like his place in it, and it's just sad and scary, and because he has a big influence on culture at large, and so
interesting.
Sorry to
hey, at least it wasn't me this week. I have the light news this week. Okay, so Harry Styles was at a show. Yeah. And a fan he was kind of like doing some banter with the crowd, and a fan threw up a bottle of water and hit him right in the gentleman's vegetables.
Was it Chris Pine?
No, that was debunked. Chris Pine and or Jason Sudeikis, I think. I get beef with him too.
He threw a big thing of salad dressing.
Right. So as it turns out, there's actually like a supercut reel. Apparently this is an ongoing issue for Harry Styles, where he has been perpetually hit in the balls with flying things. Yeah,
look, tight pants.
Oh, let's watch here.
You can't wear pants like that.
Yeah, watch. Hold on.
That was exactly what I was gonna say, Jeff.
So boom, right there, one.
Oh, that's one in the balls.
Especially wears those pants with like the 9-inch zippers, so it's like a big target. And a lot of his pants are plaid or like Target patterns.
Oh, right in the balls.
Yeah.
You missed that one. He fell.
Oh, don't worry. There's plenty. That's the thing. It's like, how long is this video? I don't know. It's like 2 minutes long or something.
There it is.
Yeah, boom.
This is rough.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. He just keeps like again. You know what I mean?
That's the same video, different angle.
Is
That's the
it?
same- yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
This is a different. Yeah, this is a different one.
He's wearing a different
And
shirt
this is
there.
boy band days, so this is like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. This poor guy's been harassed
think
for like the
about
past 10 years.
How many shows? There's got to be a. Did you see the one where David Bowie got a lollipop in his eye?
No, David
His
Bowie
good
got
eye
a
or his
lollipop?
bad eye?
Oh, that's a question.
I don't know.
Is that what caused it? No, it's not.
No, I
Yeah.
think he got punched in the face. I think that's why.
As a child,
Yeah.
childhood fight.
Yeah.
That's why David Bowie's eyes look like a husky's.
Yeah.
Looks like a
Yeah,
husky.
it's because he has a
He looks like a husky.
permanently
Dilated eye.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
anyway.
cool.
Jesus.
So hairstyles gets hit in the
Hairstyles.
balls, man.
Hairstyles gets in the balls repetitively,
Man,
apparently.
it looks
yeah.
like he has a giant member, so good for him.
Yeah. Get in the garage.
I
Do you-
have another one.
Okay, cool. Let's hear it.
In world military news, the 7 members of BTS
A music podcast.
have agreed to enter the South Korean military. We thank you for your service. It's a requirement by all able-bodied men in South Korea to serve 18 to 21 months in their military, and they deferred that in 2020. Seoul, the capital of South Korea. Sorry if I said North Korea. Capital of South Korea let them defer it. And all 7 members supposedly are entering the military. We'll see what that means. We'll see if it'll be like Elvis in the military or how serious it will be. But I'd just like to read this because by the numbers, the South Korean economy makes billions of dollars a year off of BTS. And it's estimated that they will like not make $3 billion because of the members going into the military.
Wow.
Because it's something like 1 out of every 10 to 15 tourists who ever goes to South Korea is because of BTS. So if they don't like push out albums and do concerts and all that stuff,
It's only 3 of the members, though?
7.
Oh, 7 of the members.
Supposedly all 7 of the members
Wow.
of BTS.
I
$3
heard-
billion with a B.
Billion.
Jesus.
I heard they're going to
Billion.
reunite in 2025. That's I saw that
Well,
somewhere.
yeah, and we'll see. So 18 to 21 months, a year and a half.
Yeah.
I don't know when that will start. But yeah, it said for this past decade that they've generated $30 billion for the South Korean economy.
Holy crap. $30 billion.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the wrong one. This is the heart. That's BTS's heart.
So we'll see
Yeah.
what. I don't know. Just
Could you
interesting.
imagine that though? That your government is upheld by a pop group.
Yeah.
But they also made them join the military.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So
I mean,
good on them.
and we're talking South Korea, which is a economy that has so much manufacturing, and
Yeah,
we're not
right,
saying
right,
this.
yeah.
They're not from a tiny Madagascar. They're not
Yeah,
the only thing happening in that country, but it's just very interesting to see the impact that a band has on an economy.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because they are one of with Blackpink.
Yeah,
those
like
are the
the
two
two.
that everyone in the world has heard of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Very interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
I do have some wah wah type news.
We need a trombone.
So I don't know if you guys saw this, but on the 17th of October, this is where I'm getting this from. So Tim Lambesis is the lead singer of As I Lie Dying, and I cannot say allegedly, he was convicted
Yeah.
with conspiring to kill his wife.
Yeah.
He hired a hitman. He was actively trying to murder his wife. He was found guilty in he was in 2014, and he was paroled in 2016. And As I Lie Dying already had some kind of stuff swirling around, and if I remember correctly, I believe it was As I Lie Dying were supposedly a Christian metal band, and then he also came out and was just kind of I'm an atheist, and they were like, what? So that was a whole thing. So I guess he went on a
There's no God when you try to kill your wife.
this
You are
godless
God.
man. So he was on
making God's choices.
so he went on to a podcast called the Garza Podcast. It's hosted by Chris Garza, who is the guitarist for this band Suicide Silence. And apparently he, I know, right? Reoccurring theme here. Apparently was and I'm paraphrasing, this is not exactly, but the gist is yeah, I tried to kill my wife. I feel bad about it, but what are you gonna do? Kind of thing. You're like, this fucking lunatic tried to kill his wife through a hitman.
Better have him on your podcast.
Oof.
Hey, if
Controversial.
you ever want to be a guest on this podcast,
yeah, come on.
Come on over.
Come on over, Tim. Anyway, so not that that's I didn't really care to expand much on that because fuck that guy. But that was pretty much.
He's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's a tough break. Sometimes you get caught trying to kill your wife. You know what I mean?
Maybe he can gig with that guy that tried to kill Reagan.
Yeah, right. So anyway, let's move on because I'm excited about this next segment because I may have overthought it a little bit at first and then kind of hung back and I was
you
like,
overthink something?
No,
never.
So Jeff, why don't you tell everybody what I was overthinking?
All right, so we are going to talk about our favorite side one, track ones, so tracks that lead off albums. Inspired by the film High Fidelity. They do this. It's a movie, long story short, about a man who owns a record store and his group of friends, and there's heartbreak and all love story and romantic comedy, et cetera, et cetera. But at one point, they do talk as they're bullshitting in the store. What are some of your favorite side one, track ones? So we're going to talk about our 5 favorite. We can count them down 5 to 1 if you'd like, if you're prepared to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that.
Would someone like to start? Would you like me to start?
Yeah, why don't you start, Jeff? Why don't you lead us in? Usher us in.
Okay, so my brief, what I considered is we are all album listeners, so we kind of like to sit and dwell and be transported to a world during the durations of the album, whether it be 28 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. And a good album opener to me just parachutes you right into that world, that sonic space that just is the curtains open and it's here is what's happening. So the 5 songs I chose, I started to go and I thought, you know what? My 5 need to be ones that I can think of without thinking.
Right.
They're just these are the ones. So number 5, and mine just happened to be kind of varied in time and place. Number 5 is a song from 2005. It's an album that I got heavy into. This would have been my senior year of high school. And it's the band My Morning Jacket. It's the first track off the album Z. It's a song called Wordless Chorus, which is considered to be a transition song for the band from their period of kind of super spaced out jam bandy stuff to a more concise unit. And this is the first track off that album Z. The track is very airy and spacey and vibey and a lot of these cool keyboard things. It is a wordless chorus. It's this big, open, epic, spacey, type of chorus. So that's my number 5. Number 4 is from 2015 by the band Alabama Shakes, the title track Sound and Color, which is a song that opens with a vibraphone intro. And then it's just this sultry, slow jam, country soul type of thing. And it has a string arrangement that comes in and it kind of warps you through all the emotions you can feel from hopeful to despair to questioning. It's just a very, very cool track. Number 3 is a 15-minute jazz fusion epic. It's the first song off of Headhunters by Herbie Hancock. It's called Chameleon. It's just a really out there synth-based song that's just a groove and it's funky. And then the middle of it goes to this Latin thing with string synths. My number 2, not my number 1, but my number 2 is the song that made me want to make this list. My number 2, when I heard this in the gym, I thought, is this one of the greatest songs that's ever opened an album? And it's Head Like a Hole off of 9 Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine.
Oh.
Which starts with all these layers of percussion, and then the verse is a hook, the chorus is a hook, and then the refrain is the bow down before the one you serve. And it's just whoa, dark synth pop, dancey, trancy, aggressive, a little bit of everything. An excellent song. And my number 1 is from 1984 off of maybe my favorite album of all time. And this is an album opener that changed my view of what music could be. And it's the song Let's Go Crazy off of Purple Rain by Prince. and it starts with this like very cheap sounding keyboard that's just held, and Prince does like a gospel intro where he's talking, he's preaching, and then it kicks into this super like supercharged funky classic rock and roll, like blues boogie rock and roll song that's just wild and high energy, and it has this 1 minute like epic slow down explosion crescendo ending, like this cadence, this blues cadence that is just like so strange. So that's my 5.
Nice. Good list.
Very good.
Very, very good list. You want me to go or do you want to go?
You can go. I don't care.
All right, I'll go. Yeah. So
I want to hear your because Michael, he was like, I don't know if this list, dude. And I was like, Michael, the movie scene, the guy literally goes, oh, I'm feeling basic today. And he just goes the ones off the top of his head.
5.
So I said, just do the ones off the top of your head.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it.
So yeah, and
How
for
about
me too-
Beethoven?
How about
the fucking
Beethoven?
Ninth Symphony?
So I will say that I'm a little bit looser in terms of like say my ranking, like like being like this is definitely a number 5. Also, I would like to say that I think that this list would, and I think that goes without saying for all of us, is that like depending on a time and a place, things are subject to change and kind of move around and all that kind of stuff. So I was a bit loose.
We should do this segment again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We should do.
I will say, mine will not change until better music comes along for me.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
So
I think so. Let's say like my number 5, coming in hot. I have to go Led Zeppelin 1, Good Times, Bad Times. That's just like this is this band, just down, and it has that John Bonham, like it's. I think it's just such a great like first song, introductory song. Number 4, I'm gonna go with something that I think might maybe not be necessarily out of left field, but I remember the time and the place when I heard this song and what I was doing and like the whole thing, the room I was in. The first track of Kind of Blue, man, Miles Davis, So What? I think that like as an opening track, like I remember, full disclosure, the first time that I kind of ever dabbled in things.
is this bum bum?
Love that. I mean, I think it's like, you know, and it sets the tone for the whole thing because that album is so like uniquely itself, you know, that I just absolutely love that song. My number 3, maybe a little left field, maybe not, Prison Song off of Toxicity, System of a Down.
Great
I
album
consider
opener.
it
Because
I consider
it's
it.
just-
it's in my 10.
You want to talk about
yeah.
it like like it completely sets the tone, just dum. That alone, that one note in the beginning, man.
It was the first metal album I ever listened to.
Right, you know, and like,
Yeah.
sure, we heard Chop Suey, and sure, we heard Toxicity, and maybe Aerials at that point. But it's just like when I got that CD at the time, and I put it in, the first thing that just one super hyper aggressive attack of a note that's just like, boom. It's just
That might be the
you're like,
that-
whoa, it like makes you jump.
a subsection. That might be the best first note.
That's an episode in
might
itself.
be.
What's the best first note?
Yeah.
Let me think. Okay, so then next I'm gonna go with, I wanted to throw like a soul song in there. And maybe one of the obvious ones would be Respect, but I love Chain of Fools off of Lady of Soul by Aretha Franklin. That
Better choice.
that trimmed out guitar, that and then I think on a special edition, I think it's on Spotify.
It's
There's
like
the
the 6-minute
extended
version.
cut. Oh, it's so good.
You gotta listen to the 6-minute version
It is
every
so
time.
so
Otherwise,
good.
that cut is so jarringly like kind of bad.
Yeah.
On the single version.
Yeah.
Whatever woman sings the lowest of the harmonies, it's just a little hotter in the mix.
Ooh, it's so
like,
nice. Ooh, it just like it raises. It raises the hair on your arms, man. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then my number 1, one of my favorite songs off of my favorite albums of all time ever, Breathe, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. It talk about like when you said the curtains rolling back and the whole body of work is presented to you, that's the feeling I get when I hear Breathe, because it gives you those reoccurring sounds that'll come up later on in the album, like the and all that, and then that slosh of like like, to me it's just it's incredible. So
Yeah.
there's my list.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start here. I'm with you. I really don't have like a crazy structured order, but I'm gonna start with 1969 from the Stooges' first album, The Stooges, self-titled. I think this song is really, really great. It's really explosive, has great wah solo. It's a play on the Bo Diddley beat. It's a psychedelic Bo Diddley beat with one of the greatest wah solos of all time, and it's what the Stooges do best, and it is like this is what we do.
Yeah.
Also the best song on that record, I think. And second, I'm gonna go with "Saw Her Standing There" off "Please Please Me." Paul McCartney going 1, 2, 3, bow. Then the bass kicks in. It's crazy good. That band is really, really tight. Also, the song is like the Beatles quintessential. It's Paul McCartney all day long. He still plays it. It still works. It's a great song. Beatles' first album. And then I'm gonna go with "Feel" by Big Star off number one record. I think that song, just the creeping guitar, it takes like a minute to creep in, and then when it finally creeps in, it has that great like crazy high vocal. The drum fade out at the end where it's going dum da 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 dum. It's so good. The guitar solo is great. Vocals are great. Everything about that song is so good. Rolls you into one of the best albums of all time. That is "Feel" by Big Star off of number one record. Then I'm gonna go with the Beach Boys, "Wouldn't It Be Nice" off Pet Sounds.
That's it.
That song is like the whole thing is that whole period of the Beach Boys. It's sloggy and not tempoed right, but it is. It's got great drumming from Hal Blaney, which I love. It's also got some of the sweetest lyrics of all time that are like quintessential what Brian Wilson is about in that period. One of my favorite Beach Boys songs.
A key change 6 seconds into a song.
I just every time I was looking at that song too because I was like, oh yeah, that's a track 1 too. I don't mean to yuck or mush on something, but I always just think of Adam Sandler and 51st Days.
I've never watched that movie, so
every time it like ruined it for me.
You're missing out.
Believe it or not, that's my good eye.
Come on, guys.
Sorry.
So good.
Jeez,
so good.
right on. So good lists though. That
you got one more?
Oh, I got one more.
Oh, you do have one more. I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
I think this is my favorite album opener of all time. It's oh my god, Brown Sugar, Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones. I think that album opener is super tight. It's the Rolling Stones in the 70s. That's the sound. Questionable lyrics, but goddamn, it's a great rock and roll song.
Yeah.
And then I'd also like to shout out the opener to the B-side on that record, "Bitch," because it's
thank you.
fucking another
I was
killer.
gonna say.
It might be the most killer side 1, side 2 of all time, and it's the A and B of Brown Sugar single. So.
I thought one of you were going to pick "Gimme Shelter." Doesn't that start?
I hate "Gimme Shelter." That is like my
Do you?
least favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I did. That song never
What
does
album
it
is
for
that?
me. That's off of "Beggar's Banquet," and that is the opening. No,
Let It Bleed.
Yeah,
No.
Let It Bleed.
Let It Bleed.
Beggar's Banquet opens with Sympathy.
Did you guys have any runners up that you would like to just give a quick shout out to? We don't have to like go crazy, but I've got a couple that I was also like throwing around.
Well, let's hear it.
The obvious one, Black Sabbath by the band Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath, the first song on the first record. James Gang Rides Again, Funk 49, that opens the record. Deep Purple, Highway Star on Machine Head, great album opener.
Those are all killer album openers.
Dylan, Bring It All Back Home, Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Oh,
Come
the
on.
one I was thinking of that I didn't say was Highway 61 opener, like a Rolling Stone.
Like a Rolling Stone. Yep.
Yes. So that was the one I was like, oh yeah, that's a killer album opener.
yeah.
It's such an explosive song.
And then my last honorable mention was Albert King, Born Under a Bad Sign, man. Like that's like to me, that's like I don't know. I love that one. But I love Albert King, so that was another one that I was throwing around. But
how do we all feel about My Name Is Jonas off the Blue album?
It's a good one.
I feel like that's a pretty solid album opener. It's a weird song.
I think so.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Do you have any more?
No, you guys named a couple that I was considering, "Feel" and "Prison Song."
Yeah.
I thought "Feel" was going to be on your list, so I put it on my list.
The reason "Feel" didn't make my list is because to make my list, I have to consider the album opener as still like one of the 3 strongest songs on the album, and "Feel" to me is like the 5th strongest song on that album. But that's because I love the album so much.
Yeah.
For me, "Feels" like number 1 all day. It's my favorite song on that record.
Yeah.
India song. Straight up trash.
My favorite song.
On that note, let us know what you guys think. What are some of your favorite? Some of your favorite album openers? Let us know in the comments below. Let's take a quick break. and we'll come back, and we'll hit you with 2 new album reviews. We'll be right back. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Hofner Guitars. I have here the Hofner Shorty. It is a full-scale, travel-size guitar. You can find this and all of their products at hofnerguitars.com. All right, everybody, welcome back to Get in the Garage.
For a music podcast.
For music lovers.
Time for your 2 new album reviews. We're going to open it up this week with the first of the 2 being by the band The 1975. The album name is Being Funny in a Foreign Language. It is their 5th studio album. It is 11 songs long, and it is just over 43 minutes long. So some might say like the perfect length. What did you guys think of this record? I was pleasantly surprised, I'll say. I never really listened to them before this.
Yeah, me and Mike listened to this while we spray painted the table the other day, just in the air, and we hated it very mildly. We were just like, oh, this sucks, man. And then listen, I was hearing cheesy sax just kind of play out my phone, and then I heard lines like barista and talking about coming in his hand, and
Yeah, what is going on?
Yeah, and this was blatantly popping out to me. I was like, did he just talk about getting a boner in the first and it's just what is going on?
Welcome to the 1975, boys.
And as I got into this band, cringy lyrics are kind of their thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he sings them very earnestly. This seems to be an album of real turnaround from them. It seems like he kind of was a bit woke. This seems like he's in on the joke. He kind of knows himself. It seems a little bit better this time around. And a lot of the songs, if they do have that kind of cringy tinge, he runs around it and gives you a punchline to it, or I know what you're thinking about me already, so I'm going to say it. And or the funny thing he's saying is something somebody thinks cringy about himself. So
yeah, that's a calling card for this band. They are always somewhere on the line between snarky and sincere, or earnest and ironic, but very purposely so. I'm a big fan of this band. I was waiting for this album to come out with bated breath. 5th studio album, their most concise record, the shortest in time, 43 minutes, the shortest in tracks with 11. And it is, in my opinion, a more mature. They're growing and getting away from the pop hook, infectious, funkiness of the 80s retro stuff. There's still some of that here, but they're sounding a little bit more grown up. Some specs for this record. This is the first record that they did not work with Mike Crossy, who was a producer on, I believe, the first 2, and then he has been the mixer for their first 4. This album was co-produced with Jack Antonoff, who is a huge super producer these days, who works with Taylor Swift for the past decade. He works with Lorde. He works with St. Vincent. He was in the band Fun a decade ago. He's huge in that 80s retro shimmery pop rock sound.
Yeah.
So it's a pairing that makes sense. Co-produced with Maddie Healy, the singer of the band, and George Daniel, the drummer of the band, both of them have been co-producers on all of the albums so far. This album's mixed not by Mike Crossy, but by Manny Marroquin, who works with Rihanna, Kanye West's good albums, so the stuff like the first 6. Super pop producer, and yeah, this album I think is a step in a more mature direction. Their 4th album was this super ambitious 21, 22 track, kind of sprawling, somewhat oil spilly, somewhat disastrous at a couple of different turns, but I enjoyed this a lot because it was instead of this is all everything maximalist.
Yeah.
This is an album.
Yeah, I liked it too. I mean, I didn't, like we said, we weren't really digging on it when we were playing it, and I was like, oh, I don't know,
I was sipping Haterade hard.
I was sipping a bit of Haterade too. I heard kind of that sexy sax thing going on, and same thing, kind of cheesy lyrics and stuff like that. But the more that I listened to it, I thought this is a good record. This is fun. I feel like this is an album that's one of those albums that's when I go back and listen to this album, I will remember like this little pocket of my life. I don't know. It gives me that kind of sensation, and I mean, mostly, probably more so for like younger people. This will probably grow to be more of a nostalgic album for people. But yeah, like you said, it's like
I think it has a lot of like adult contemporary
Sure,
stuff going
yeah.
on for it, but it seems like the lyrics are youthful on one like view of them, but once you like actually like think about the lyrics, what he's like rhyming is very like, oh, that's an interesting thought there, or I've never really thought about that way. There's one lyric in a song where he talks about like a woman taking, I think, an Adderall and smoking a Newport and saying, well, I take care of my kids, and like it's that kind of line is so like personal, and that's a great line. That's good writing. It puts you in your space. You picture the woman. You picture that he doesn't even put her in a place.
Yeah.
Where is she? You put her in a place in your head. You know where she is. It's that kind of shit where it's like it sounds very effacingly like culturally like this and that, and I'm just putting them together. But it's very much not that. It's very much a comment on this is the society, and he's doing it in a very playful way. So if you want to listen to it like me and you did, and you're like, oh, it's just there's some Adderall, whatever, and and this and that, and the scrolling, that's fine. But there's also like very textured thought about all that stuff when it is said.
For me, the youthful I think idea of it, or maybe that sense of like that this could give somebody a sense of nostalgia. I think it's the song "Wintering," where it's just like our first kiss was in a Walmart toy section, and then we went to the parking lot.
That's
and we
the
did
closing
this thing.
track.
You know, like when we are together.
Yes.
In that kind of stuff, you know, that there is this sort of like maybe innocence would be the word, but I don't know about
It's very journalistic.
that.
It's very
right.
stream of consciousness.
He also-
Yeah, and I like that. And this up front, I was like, oh, all right, man, this is, it's kind of corny. But the more I like leaned into it, the more I was like, oh shit, I like these songs. Like these are cool songs. There's a couple of things. Great album opener. I thought and the album opener is titled "The 1975." And it's more of like a mood song. It's like
That's
it's
what they
clearly
do
an introductory.
They do
song.
that on every album. The first track is always a self-titled track. And from the first two albums, they were pretty much the same chord changes and the same sparse lyrics. And it just kind of was like stretched out on the second one. And then the third, it was same lyrics again, but a different musical palette. The fourth, they used some of the lyrics, different chords, but, reminiscent chords, and then had Greta Thunberg, the girl who's a climate change person, give a 3-minute speech about the world. And then on this one, this was the most traditional song.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of All My Friends, a song by LCD Sound System with the skittery piano. And this was verse and chorus and all that stuff. So they haven't necessarily done that on any of their album openers yet. So I thought it was a strange but a welcome change to have a real song start off.
Yeah, there were some funny moments too. I liked the song "Part of the Band." He's like, "Enough about me now."
Best-
You
that's
gotta
one of
talk
my
about
favorite
the
songs.
people,
It's such a
baby.
great
When he does
song.
that thing,
Right.
But that's where it is to me, where you're like, yeah, he's in on the joke. He's giving you the wink, and he's like, yeah, I know, I know what I'm doing.
That's also the song with she was in the Air Force. I was part of the band.
Yeah.
I always used to bust in my hand.
Yeah, right.
Killer opening.
William
line.
Shakespeare.
Billy
Yeah, that's a
Shakespeare
song I
himself.
really enjoy. It has all those, Eleanor Rigby type strings, and then it kind of settles in with the full band in this kind of softer chorus. A song I really enjoyed was another kind of ballad, so to speak, kind of that country blues song, All I Need to Hear, which I guess was a one take with the band and then overdubs on top, but I liked the blown out guitar of it. I just really enjoyed it as a song. It has a bridge, it has the ending, goes to a strange place, but then it goes back to what you kind of expect.
It's almost like Soul-y, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
got that
Yeah. And I mean, I like their dancey, in excess, shimmery pop funk stuff, but on all of their albums, the songs I tend to like the most are those 12/8, 6/8 type of soulful, ballady type of mid-tempo songs. So that was excellent. I liked the Christmassy one, Wintering, which was about going home for the holidays and kind of shortly talking about each person in his family's little quirks and I don't know. I this is like not new territory for me because I love this band. I've been listening to this band for, I don't know, 8 years or whatever. But yeah, less of the big pop hooks and funky like sing along in a stadium chorus, but there's still 3 or 4 songs like that.
Yeah.
I also thought an interesting kind of reference that you threw out was Coldplay too, and I'd
Yeah,
also like
sure.
to say like
Yeah.
part of the band,
Yeah.
the strings in that are like Viva La Vida
Sure.
all day. Kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Dum,
Yeah.
That one, and then like maybe like a little Dave Matthews Band in there. Just the way
Sure.
the sax was kind of like
Oh,
just
yo,
sort of
yeah.
no,
like
you got it right the first time when we were outside, and you went, "Man, this thing is like laced with SNL sax, huh?" That's what,
Yeah, on
that's what it
purpose.
is.
Right,
It's
right.
SNL
That's
sax.
an
It's that
SNL
it's that
sax.
tongue in cheek like we are trying to make stuff that sounds like it's from a John Hughes movie soundtrack,
right.
and like we're gonna put that shit in. We're gonna put 4 saxes playing on top of each other with delays and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But I liked it so much. I was
Happiness
so
on that record features that sax
Yeah,
like
sure.
heavily.
yeah,
in
and
the
Happiness
track.
has like that. That's the second track, right? That's the
Yeah.
one that's got like that Seinfeld-y type
Yeah.
bass thing
Slap
going
bass
on
to
the
start off.
beginning. Like
and it's
you're
just
like,
got
what?
these like great
Yeah.
like kind of pop vocals, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fun. And then like the next, what it's great about this record too is it kind of gives you the way it's paced. It's like complicated, messy lyric song, easy pop song,
Yeah, yeah.
complicated like self song, then like maybe 2 pop song, and then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this record was classy in a lot of ways, and even like the writing style on it, I think is really wonderful. And I read a New York Times article with the singer, and he also said that Paul Simon was a big influence on him, and I was like, oh, yes.
Right, lyric writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like You Can Call Me Al is
Right.
a lot of the songs on this record. The way it's so wordy and has the references. Like one of the songs on here has the "You were this person and I was this person," and I think it's part of the band. And I looked up the people, and one of them was like a poet that stopped writing poems when they were like
Yeah.
21 years old.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, oh, it's like really some deep stuff if you want to look in there. And it was very interesting. And Paul Simon was really spot on. So if you're into Paul Simon and
Yeah.
and you're not into this band, check this record out. It's a new take on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because lyrically, this band is, using universal themes of love and struggles in life and finding yourself in your early 30s and all that kind of stuff. But it's very much like music for this time. Like we all grew up on the internet and social media and all that stuff. So it's like they aren't trying to make easy, digestible pop songs. They're writing what seem to be like kind of like very deep emo songs with pop rock like packaging around it.
Right.
Because I've seen them, especially in the early days, they would do things where Maddie would just do a solo and sing through 5 songs with acoustic guitar. And these songs are kind of like early 2000s emo strum along acoustic songs. But then with the full band and they record it, they just like blast it out and make it like this huge stadium filling rock and roll.
Right.
Or, funky rock and roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very Paul Simon. It's I didn't even think about that, but it's such a good touchstone.
Well,
yeah.
the interviewer
Yeah.
goes,
Yeah.
Are you influenced by hip hop? You're very wordy. And he goes, no, Paul Simon.
Yeah.
And then the guy just goes like, oh.
It makes
and
perfect sense.
leaves it. But like
Yeah.
really, really smart,
Yeah.
Yeah. There were moments where I got like Foo Fighters vibes a little bit too, arena rock, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
you saying that, like kind of like you know what I mean, like even like it, and really the thing that triggered my Dave Grohl response was just like that doubled up vocal track kind of thing that he does here and there on this.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
It was
'Cause it didn't
I don't know
sound
if it was a
doubled.
filter.
It sounded like they like panned like a big separation pan on the reverb or the delay of the vocal. Because there's time where it's kind of like
Out of
seemed
sync.
doubling, but you could tell he didn't record this again. They just did something.
They did some sort of mic
to make
wizardry
it sound
something.
like out of
okay,
phase.
so what the Beatles used to do, they had like a thing where you would sing it once because John Lennon hated overdubbing his vocals. So
Yeah.
what they would do is they would sing it once and he would make a double of the vocal track and then you just delay.
Slightly pull it. Yeah.
Yeah, so while it's recording, you, just
Yeah.
you pull one back and you
Yeah.
pull the
Because
other
they
one
did that
forward.
on about half of this album, and it was panned. Because I listened to a bunch, and it's like panned and slightly off time
Yeah.
to have this but it was still like so center of your ear
Right.
on both sides.
Right. Weird,
They've
right?
done that before. That's a Jack Antonoff thing.
Is
he
it?
does that a lot on people he works with.
Oh, okay.
Shout
that
out
makes
to
sense.
the
Where
the
because it
format.
makes it have this like watery type of
Yeah, I couldn't put my
warbleness in
finger on it either. Yeah, I was like, is it doubled up? Because that was
Yeah.
my thing. I was like, is it doubled up? I'm not quite sure. Anyway,
Studio trickery.
before we move on, so ratings, guys. Let's see. What are we working with? I can start off if you like. I
Sure.
think it's a strong 8.5, man. 8.5.
That's a high number.
Wow.
For me, it's a high number.
That's
I
good.
really
That's
like.
good.
I really fell in love with this album, man. I
You should
really
listen
did.
have you listened to any of their other ones?
I haven't. That's why I'm excited though, because now I'm like, shit. I kind of want to go back and listen to this. I really was. I was pleasantly surprised with this record, man. I listened to it like 4 times, and I was like, yeah, I like this.
Go to
This
the
is
third
good.
one.
I gotta go back.
Go to the second or third album. Go
Yeah.
there next. Yeah.
Okay. Luca.
I'm gonna go 7.5. It's still got a little
Mhm.
bit of like some of the stuff is just a little too generic and not so like fleshed for me. So that's why it's 7.5.
Yeah.
But the really great record, really cool, interesting.
This is a 9 for me. I love this band, and this is either my third or fourth favorite of their records because I have 2 of them as like 10s basically. But yeah, a strong 9 for me.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. There you have it, Alex.
Aggregate across the board was around a 9
Yeah.
for
Right on.
multiple reviewers.
What did Pitchfork give them? I think I looked. I had
An
looked.
8.
A solid
An 8. That's
Yep.
what it was. It
It
was an 8.
received quite a few 5s and a couple 10s as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you either like it or you're not into it though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. I could see how it could be a little devising for people.
Divisive.
Divisive.
This was
Ugh.
the most sound-wise like middle, because there's not much of that like super.
Yeah.
Like there's like 2 songs like and they have a lot of songs like that earlier in their catalog where I bet a lot of people are like, fuck, I'm not into this.
Yeah.
Shimmery, shiny, like funky rock and roll. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like the ones where like the lyrics are kind of like dance,
Yeah.
and you're just like, okay, yeah,
And
that's-
it's all
Yeah.
about
Or, like-
being in your 20s. And
or
it's
like I love
yeah.
you,
Yeah.
do you love me?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I hope we see each
Yeah.
other soon again. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's kind of the lines
Yeah.
you heard before.
I love
Yeah.
it though,
Oh.
lyrically, because they're guys exactly our age.
Can-
They're like
Oh,
all
okay.
88, 89.
Okay.
Can
like,
I
born then,
also
yeah.
shout out "Oh Caroline" for being a good girl name song on the record?
It's the only one I hear that rhymes.
Oh
is one of the lyrics.
Caroline, yeah,
Yeah.
because he also shouts
he
it out.
needed a name with 3 syllables in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was really funny.
Yeah.
I like that. What's up, Alex?
Final shout out from me. They are playing on November 3rd at Mohegan Sun.
Oh yes, that's right.
Oh, get your tickets, boys.
November 3rd.
November
Oh,
3rd.
Good luck getting tickets.
Yeah.
There are still tickets
I mean,
available.
oh,
No
cool.
general admission, but they run around the course of $70 each.
That's not bad.
That's not. It ain't like
Good for
182
you.
prices.
Good for you.
Hey,
nice.
maybe I'll go
75.
see 'em.
Did you see
Let's
that clip?
go.
Did you see that clip I posted the
I'll
other
see
day?
'em. This is one of my 2 favorite pop bands out.
Oh
right now.
shit.
See
Huh?
that clip I posted the other day?
No, which one?
It was a singer from 1975
Oh,
shitting
yeah,
on
yeah,
people
yeah.
that do meet and greets, and I was like, yeah, I'll repost
Speaking
that
the truth.
Yeah.
because he was
Yeah.
like, how do people monetize fans doing this to me in the
He's
audience?
like, they paid for the album, they paid for the ticket, they paid for the gas to come see me. He's like, charging them to meet me is like criminal.
And he was like, be an adult, ask them face to face to
Face,
give you
give your
money
money.
before they shake your hand.
You mad? But that he's right.
You be the
though.
one to ask.
Yeah.
He's right though.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next album, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, released. They released 2 albums. We'll be covering one of the 2 albums.
Yep.
Jeff, can you give us that album name, please?
This album is titled Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava, which is a reference to the 7 musical modes.
That's right, the 7 Greek musical modes.
For you music theory people, a brief music theory thing. Take all the white keys, start on C, C up to C, Ionian, D up to D, Dorian, I won't test it.
Hey,
E up to E, Phrygian,
my God,
which
no
would be
music.
planets. F up to F, Lydian, lungs. G up to G, Mixolydian, mushrooms. A up to A is Aeolian, and B up to B is Locrian.
The worst of the modes.
No, it's the best.
Oh,
I just thought they looked up what they sang about most in this record, and were like, those are the words we use most.
That's what they did afterwards. So the band, they have these in order to be the mnemonic device of the album title. And each track, there's 7 tracks. The first is Ionian mode, then it's and they go. So the
Yeah.
last track is the strangest with the Locrian mode. But a very cool idea. This is an album that they made like the band in the studio jamming, coming up with a song. Here's a tempo. Here's the mode we're in. Let's make a song.
Yeah.
And this band is usually like Stu McKenzie, the guy who leads it. He kind of is like the puppet master who writes the majority of stuff, plays the majority of stuff, and then like other guys in the band fill in stuff. But this seemed to be a very much like full band collaboration. 7 tracks is like an hour and 3 minutes long.
Yep.
And I think that's just a cool, strange concept to have the like.
It's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Did it work for everybody?
I would say yes.
Oh, it did
I
not
don't know.
work for us two over here.
I'll say this.
I love this band though. So
I'm gonna say we talked about album openers.
Yeah.
Mycelium on this album opener is a bit rough. It's not musically, it's vocally.
I was not a fan of that song.
Mycelium.
Oh,
Yeah, because you
I
haven't
hated
heard
it so much.
You haven't heard their album "Fishing for Fishies." That's why, or "Gumboot Soup." Two albums that are musically very much like that first.
Yeah.
track.
Yeah, that first track was like a bit, and
Yeah.
like this is a record like I know like I should like stylistically,
Yeah.
but this one was hard for me to get into.
Yeah.
I did not like the let's just jam and make up a
Yeah.
song thing because by the middle of the first track I could tell. By the third song, because I didn't really look it up before I listened to it, I just listened to it.
Yeah.
By the third song, I went, this is jammed out and then vocaled afterwards.
Oh yeah,
And you could tell there's a lot of vocals on these jams, though.
yeah.
For there
Yeah.
being like jam songs, they wrote a lot of vocals for the jam songs.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mycelium just has a lot of repeated Mycelium for me.
Well, that's this band. Yeah, it's like
But we get into Ice 5. Ice 5 was
Ice 5.
definitely like a cooler song. I liked
Yeah.
the sax solo in that song. It was crazy cool. That's
Yeah.
more what I was like in for. I could have listened to this album lyricless and I would have liked it more, I think.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the case for some of their music.
But
Yeah.
Yeah,
to be fair, Ice 5 is fun. It's just I've heard that a lot of songs like that before where they rhyme everything. It was like Ice 5, dime, Ice 5, another rhyme, Ice 5, third rhyme. Like that.
Yeah.
It was funny as shit though. I like it. It was fun to listen to. What songs did you like love on this?
Yeah, so this album to me, like, there's a push-pull with this one for me, too. I was definitely sipping on the Haterade with Luke on the drives into work after listening to this.
It was Hell's Itch for me. It was the main.
That was the one, yeah.
Mycelium and Hell's Itch were the ones that were really hard to get through.
It's,
Hell's Itch was
for
the one with the
me-
flute solo. In the middle of it, the really long flute solo, the 13-minute long song in this record.
come on, Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, so
Yeah, this one.
he's giving us a bit of the flute solo right now.
We
To
can't
be
play it- we
fair,
can't play it
when
for you
I
guys
did
for
listen
legal
to this,
purposes.
I had just listened because I didn't know. I listened to Bobby Humphrey's Harlem River Drive like right before this, which is a 7-minute long jazz flute solo. So then when I got to Hell's Itch, I was like, oh, there's a lot of flute on here. And it's not Bobby Humphrey's.
Yeah, see, I will say this. Like, I listened to this record, and maybe some of the things that I kind of, like, picked out of it that I did enjoy was I liked, like, kind of the tip of the hat to Jethro Tull, obviously, because you get the flautist flute solos in there. And even some of the vocals, like, the vocals on Ice 5 kind of sounded a little Ian Anderson-ish. Not totally, but a bit. There was some flavor in there. I also kind of like picked up a little bit of like Hot Rats kind of vibes, like Zappa vibes, like the way that the guitar tone was working and like the noodle sauce style guitar playing and stuff. Like Zappa, if you ever listen to especially like live Zappa stuff, like he does a lot of like this kind of, sort of like, but especially on Hot Rats too.
I also want to throw out Crimbin. The first song was very like Crimbin in like African-y. Like the guitar lines in there, but like that's what I was getting.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of like African-y guitar lines in this whole
Yeah, like
record
that desert
as well.
blues.
I thought
like,
especially
kinda runny.
Ice 5 was.
Yeah,
Yes,
right,
like,
right.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
African style.
Because that-
Yeah, it was like that meets
Yeah.
the Zappa tone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the two songs I enjoyed the most were the two that are from the more traditional minor modes. So the second song, Ice 5, which is in Dorian, which is, D minor, or it would be D minor if it's white keys. But that's like a world that they are, very competent and expressive in. And if you watch the canvas on Spotify, the little video, it's like a guy
Yes.
gyrating in front of a sunrise or sunset, and it's like that is what the song feels like. It has the flute stuff all over it, the sax all over it. I really liked Iron Lung as well, which was the Aeolian song, so the one that would be in natural minor,
Right.
because that's like very. That was like wah, kind of like a smooth jazzy funk thing, and that builds this like doomy fuzzed out guitar, but that goes back to the jazzy stuff.
Yeah.
Vocally, that was Metallica's One, but with a guy in an iron lung, and it
Yeah.
was my favorite. It was like you rewrote
And it
One
has-
as an iron lung song, and it works perfect.
So many of the lyrics, like throughout this album, are the references to those words of the title, which are words that they chose because they exist in the Gizzverse, which is like their larger universe of lyrics, because they've written tons of songs about
Well,
volcanoes and
let me-
mushrooms
let me
and,
give
and
you-
space and stuff.
Can
let
we
me give
get-
you lyrics from Lava. The volcano is death. The lava is death. Death is life. The lava is life. The volcano is death. The lava is death. Death is
Indians
life.
scattered on
Tons
highway bleeding.
They chant that at the end. They're like,
Yeah.
the volcano is
But
life.
even the opening of that, death smells like boiled eggs. Death, a hot stove glowing red. Lava, sticky like peanut butter. Lava, the ultimate stone cutter.
Can I give you?
Like
Can I give you some from Hell's
so
Itch?
good. It's so good.
Hell's Itch, Dermaglitch, Hell's Itch, Bewitched, Hell's Itch, I can't even read it. Perpetual Twitch, Hell's Itch, Rising Pitch.
So, yes, this is a strange band. This is psychedelic rock from Australia. Australia? New Zealand? Australia.
Australia.
yeah.
The 21st album in 10 years, and they just do every style. And this album is like, it's 7 tracks. They're all between 7.5 and 13 minutes long, and it's like jams, but like with purpose, like that have directions and have verses and refrains and choruses and bridges and solo sections. So it's not like complete Looney Tunes all
No,
over
you
the
could
place.
tell it's
very
structured.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
A shout out to the album art, which is a figure that is like this monolith of lava and death and mushrooms and planets. And it's the only album to feature the 6 members of the band's faces, who you can see.
Oh, yeah, huh?
You can see the 6 guys' faces if you look closely at the artwork. I like this guy. So it's very much like a band that this is the second of 3 albums that they will put out in the month of October. And this is like not just Stu Mackenzie's stuff. This is like the band got together and made an album. So I love that spirit of it. I'm this guy, the guy at the bottom.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
so
record
sad.
it's very interesting. It's
Yeah.
very challenging at times,
Sure.
but it's fun, and it's
Yep.
definitely got all the fun of the garage rock stuff. It doesn't take itself too seriously at
Yeah.
all. The lyrics are fun on this record. You can't like really like pick apart lyrics about a volcano. It's like it's fun. So you're either gonna have fun with it and
Yeah.
it's for you, or it's not for you.
Yeah.
Some days it probably is for me. Some days it's not. So
It's
Yeah.
like it's silliness done seriously.
yes,
Because
exactly.
you could be like, what the fuck is this goofy nonsense? And they're like, yes. But then you could be like, this prophetic wisdom about the state of the world. And they would say, yes. Like,
Yeah,
it's whatever you want, whatever you interpret it as.
Yeah, right. So, all right, well, let's do ratings, Jeff. You want to lead us off? You are the devout.
I am the acolyte of the King Giz. Yeah, I love this band. 21st album for me. This is like maybe my 6th, 7th, 8th favorite of their work. It's an 8.5 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed it.
Luca.
I'm gonna go 6.5 on this one.
Ooh.
It's
No, it's
a,
not bad.
It's a little
No, I
rough.
know,
It's a little rough, but it's like this is for me. It's I'm Dark Side of the Moon. This is that's my 10.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
6.5 for me on that scale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
respectable.
respect it. I respect it. I'll break even. I'll go 6. I'm gonna go 7-2. I'll hit you guys with a pitchfork, a pitchfork one.
Sure.
For me, there is no Planet B, so it's like that was like Infests the Rat's Nest is like my high
And
watermark
speak
for
of
them.
Pitchfork, because I did some like, what do other people think about any King Gizzard music? Because I am so like in the world, like what do critics really think? Pitchfork, I think they gave that like a 6-7.
Infests the Rat's Nest.
They don't.
That's why I mean it's like
Dummies.
They do not like King Gizzard.
Fools.
Dummies.
They are-
Fools.
And then that one that I told you they released, I think earlier this year. I can't think of what it's called. Osmium.
Yeah.
That record is called Obium Gatherum.
Right, Osmium Gatherum. They gave that like an 8 too.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's to say?
And I heard,
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Because I did watch a review for this King Gizzard record, and the one of the things that this particular reviewer was talking about was how he did not like that record, how he preferred this record to that record,
me too.
kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting. There was some hate in the comments, but it seemed like that. It's like it was kind of like a polarizing record amongst the Gizzard fans anyway. A lot of people, there was a lot more positive. But there were some people who were kind of being like, nah, it's not for me, you know.
I'm more of a middle of the road on it.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
So this is, I believe that was the first of 3 that are coming in this month total.
Lamented Denim is out right now. It is a 2-track album.
Yeah, Laminated Denim is a very different album. It's a half hour. It's 2 15-minute tracks, and it's like straight up like open-ended. Jam is not really the right word, but yeah, they're 2 exactly 15-minute tracks, and it's Laminated Denim is an anagram of an album that they had released last year, which was called Made in Timeland. Same format, 2 15-minute long tracks. Made in Timeland was released digitally the same day that Laminated Denim came out. Laminated Denim is more like the guitar-based stuff. Made in Timeland was very electronic synthesizer keyboard stuff.
And I think the name of the next album being released in the month of October will be Changes, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and I hope Changes is another album with more than 2 15-minute long tracks.
Yeah. So there you go. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Alex, do you have something to say?
As of a day ago, they just released one of the songs on Changes named "Hate Dancin'."
Yes.
Is it 15 minutes long?
It's not. It's about 4.
Oh, good.
3
and,
minutes
and I think
16.
Changes comes out on the 28th.
28th of
I
October.
think so.
All right, so we'll keep a lookout for that too.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments below too. Or did you like this Gizzard album? Did you not? There's 21 of them after all, so let us know what you think.
We should rank them one day. I'll rank them.
Yeah, you rank them. You'll be the
the
scribe.
I will listen to every one. If you listen to every OC's record, then we have to go back and forth.
Hey, they pulled some of the King Gizzard albums from streaming.
Oh, really?
Because they used to be signed to a different label called Flightless, which was started by their old manager, and he was a drummer for a decade with the band. And now the stuff that was only on Flightless is not on Spotify anymore. So we did the 10-year anniversary of 12 Bar Brews. That's not on Spotify, as the last time I checked a week ago.
Oh, interesting.
Bummer.
So
just in the nick of time.
they're getting the rights back from that member who's no longer in the band. And it was that and maybe 3 or 4 other albums that were pulled from streaming.
No way.
Own your rights.
Own your rights.
My favorite ones are still up there.
Good.
But I do like the early stuff too.
Yeah, so let us know once again. Also, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe, guys.
Arctic
Awaken
Monkeys
me.
next week, right?
Yeah,
And Taylor Swift.
And
And
Taylor Swift.
This is a big episode next week. Big albums.
Yeah, big albums
This
coming
is
at you next week.
Those are like the 2 heavy hitters. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
2 heavy hitters. It's going to be a good time. It'll be interesting to hear what they have in store. So make sure you come back next week, guys. This has been Get in the Garage. We'll see you next week.
Tell your friends.